I thought I'd do a little piece about the camera, or camera phone in fact, that I'm using for most of these vlogs. Although I have used my Canon EOS 550D a little bit, which is an older camera really, and to be honest not up to the job, but the footage looks nice for some things. But this camera I'm using is a Huawei Mate 20 Lite phone, and to be honest I had the camera phone probably about a year and a half before I even started using it for vlogging, because vlogging is quite new to me, as you probably know. And I've been thinking along the lines of actually buying a specific camera for it, although money's rather tight at the moment. And really looking into it and finding that this camera does quite a decent job, all things considered. So I thought I'd do a little review of it. There's my friend. So as I said, Huawei Mate 20 Lite. You know, it is a couple of years old, maybe 3. Camera wise, I'm currently using the selfie camera. For vlogging it will shoot 1080p at 30 frames a second. But one thing you have to be careful of is it has a thing called a beauty setting, which you may have noticed if you use any of these sort of Android based cameras. There's a little beauty setting on some of them. If you accidentally kick that beauty setting in, as you can quite easily with your thumb on this, the resolution on the selfie camera automatically drops to 720. So obviously I don't use it, but you need to make sure that the beauty setting is at its lowest setting or off, otherwise you do get that issue. But otherwise 30 frames a second, 1080p, got reasonably good face tracking. Looking at it now, occasionally it'll just put the square around my face and shift the focus, and seems to do quite a nice job. I do find that the light settings are a little bit clunky. As you can see, they fade in and out quite obviously, but they do it quite quickly, so I suppose that's not a bad thing really. So that's more or less the selfie camera sort of dealt with. But the main thing is it's just making sure that beauty setting isn't put in, because otherwise you'll find you shooting in 780p perhaps without even realizing it, and you come to edit it and the footage is smaller, which I've done, and you have to scale it up. Color wise, I don't find it too bad. I think it's fairly honest colors. So yeah, fairly decent, especially for a camera phone its age. And you know, when you consider it's a light version, it's not supposed to have all the bells and whistles of its bigger cousins. So the front camera, or should I say the main camera, the rear camera really, isn't it, will shoot 60 frames a second, 1080p. It won't do 4K. It will do, as will the selfie camera, it will do the aspect ratio of 18:9 as well as 16:9. I generally use 16:9. And it will do 30 frames or 60 frames a second. So that's pretty nice. I do believe, I haven't really played with it much, it will do 120 frames a second, but that does crop. So sound wise it has, I believe, and I'm not completely sure about this, I will check, it has a stereo mic system, I believe. I think there's one little hole in one end of the camera, one little hole in the other end of the camera, and yeah, that was a stereo recording. That applies to the selfie camera, of course, as well. However, there is a little issue I've noticed with that, is when you initially kick the camera recording in, I think there's a very, very slight synchronization issue between the two mics, which sorts itself out in the first couple of seconds, but it results in a almost kind of metallic like phasing sound on the voice temporarily. I'm not completely sure that's the reason, but as somebody who does a lot of audio technology stuff, the way that it sounds and what it's doing does tend to lend it to that conclusion, in my book anyway. Anybody know any about this? Would be really interested to hear your comments if you've had the same issue. But as long as you leave it a couple of seconds before you start talking, it's usually okay, and the sound's pretty good. If it is windy, unfortunately you do get wind noise. There isn't a huge amount of background noise reduction or anything like that, but the mics are relatively sheltered, and I've found that sometimes one mic will get more wind noise than the other. And if you're editing in something like Adobe Premiere, you can actually just use the audio from one channel and therefore reduce that effect somewhat. But obviously not ideal, but it's a phone, you know. So going to do a few shots. You've seen my selfie shot. Here I am walking around. What do you think? Light changing quite rapidly as I move this, and I think it doesn't do too bad a job, does it really? Not bad at all. Going to switch now to the other camera and see what you think. For some reason I've gone and brought my big tripod and left it on the big tripod for the selfieing side of things, which does steady it somewhat. But as you can see, the autofocus is struggling a little bit there. Obviously that's a lot of light pointing it straight at the sun there, but it's a lovely horizon, isn't it? Shooting at 60 frames a second here, just to illustrate it. So the light not bad, doing a bad job of adjusting there. If I move it down a little bit, you see it'll pick up the lower light below. I mean, this is just off the bat, not locking any of the settings or anything. Not too bad, is it? He's getting impatient with me now. So what I'm now going to do is I'm actually going to physically turn the camera around in the tripod and shoot myself talking with the main camera. You've seen me on the selfie camera. I'm going to use the main camera without any image to guide me and just see how it copes. Right, so I'm going to start walking again. Straight off the bat, obviously I can't see what I'm shooting, so I'll have to look at the footage afterwards. But you can immediately see whether it, tracks the face or not, and how well it does. Still at 60 frames a second here. Let's have a spin round so it deals with all the different light, shall we? There you go. Let's go up. And let's go down. No. So not too bad. It makes me wonder, really, because I quite like the quality of this camera and how it looks. It makes me wonder whether I should get a dedicated camera or not. Doing a lot of thinking about this. There's some good cameras for sale second hand as well, which I've had a look at. Some of the a couple of cameras have come up which are known for being great vlogging cameras, but do I really need it? I was thinking of my phone contract's come up, thinking of upgrading to something that perhaps has better cameras on it and things. I know Huawei have brought out a new thing, you know, the P40 Pro, but frankly, monthly they're so unbelievably expensive. When you break it down, you're looking about paying £700 or £800 in a year for one of these things. And is that really worth it? You've got very decent optics here, really good visuals, really. And frankly, actually kicks the arse out of the Canon camera, which has got, you know, a much bigger lens and ostensibly a better sensor, but I suppose it is much older. But thought I'd do a little static shot of that sun. What a beautiful day. Tell me what you think anyway. I'll put the full specs of this phone camera, megapixels and that sort of stuff, in the description below. If you like what you hear and what you see, please do subscribe and remember to click that ever-present notification bell. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.